So upon my initial viewing, this is a very heady movie. I found myself having to go back like 15 to 20 seconds like into scenes to make sure I didn't miss anything because some of the transitions are very violent.
Yeah.
What I really like about this movie is like it really questions the audience whether or not is this a dream or like is this just like reality converging with like the conglomerate of like the population's dreams. Like it's a very heady movie, I could say, and I liked it. I think Perfect Blue was a bit better as far as a narrative sense, but this movie definitely, like with its writing and its dialogue and everything, I think that it's just a really good movie. After the credits rolled, I was thinking like, what the hell did I just watch? What the hell did I just watch?
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a lot to take in.
Sure.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I watched it, and I'm glad that we can kibitz about it.
Cool. Awesome. Joseph, what was your initial reaction? First watch.
Yes, definitely first watch for me. And just like you, I that was like my knowledge of it was that there was like the side-by-side comparisons of like the mirror breaking and the hallway, and also, well, no, that's Perfect Blue and Requiem for a Dream. But
Yeah.
I didn't realize how like essentially how repetitive everything is in this movie.
Yeah.
As far as like it's like we're replaying the same scenes over and over again with slight different variations, or one scene is like a certain scene has an additional person who's now in the dream, who's like in a catatonic state or a comatose basically.
Yeah.
And so it just like a snowball, the movie just kept getting like more and more like if you guys ever played Katamari Damacy.
Oh yeah.
It's like that ball that is just going bigger and
Gathering
bigger and bigger
more
and gathering
material.
more and more and stuff. At one point I was like, this is like I'm being vomited on with color.
Yeah.
Like it was just like attacking me with all these visuals, which were great. And the movie, this is 2006, right?
Yeah, 2006, yeah.
It feels older. It feels like it was made in the 90s.
Right.
But I guess that just is how like the hand-drawn style looks.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, much like Tyler, I was like, I don't know what to think about this. What did I just watch? I watched like a much more insane version of a Ghibli movie, and a much more a dark and mature version of that. You know, a rated R Ghibli movie. I mean,
It is rated R.
You see boob.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess you do, yeah. And you see a tuchus, too.
There be boobs.
Yeah, you see boob. And
I think the disturbing elements of it are probably enough to give it an R2. Where
I mean, also like
she's getting unzipped.
the weird, like, yeah, the sexual, like, I could, make me get rough with you. Like,
Yeah, that was a little shaky.
Yeah, it's weird. But there was a lot of like, kind of like self-referential aspects to it, like we were talking about with Bruce, with like the movies and the movie posters. Like you see Tokyo Godfather in the movie.
Yeah.
And like you are in a movie theater watching these dreams play out.
Very much like Everything Everywhere All at Once.
So yeah, it's definitely a definition of like a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Like it definitely is a mind bender. That there's, I mean, Bruce has seen it multiple times, I assume, and he still finds it incomprehensible, like he said. I can't even imagine that how many times I'd have to watch this without reading anything about it to begin to comprehend what is happening in front of me.
More or less comprehensive than Primer?
No.
Primer's more straightforward.
Oh, wow. That's a hot take right there.
That is a hot take
Is it?
because, well, I mean, Primer is very...
Primer, I understand what is going on in the movie, and like there's only two characters, and I understand
Oh, okay.
what they're
I
doing.
see what you're saying.
I don't
yeah.
like the Primer's not supposed to mean anything. I don't think. Well,
No, it's just a straight ahead kind
It's not like a
of-
comment on anything. It's not like there's no
There's no social commentary or
message
anything,
behind
yeah.
it. I feel like Paprika possibly has, and then how the visuals or the plot relate to that or makes the connection. and it's like, oh, the old man who's asleep and he jumps out the window and then he's alive, but he's in a coma, and then I don't know.
I agree. There's definitely some confusing points of just in the plot.
I mean, I can't really say that it was bad, and I did not like it. But it's not something that I feel like
You want to watch again?
I feel like I have to watch it again, but
You don't want to.
don't feel like watching it again right away.
Okay.
I mean, it's only an hour and a half. It didn't feel long. It didn't feel like
Felt normal.
It didn't feel like a chore because things were constantly happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard. I don't know where I land on it. It's kind of I'm confused.
Interesting.
I'm confused.
Okay, cool.
But yeah.
All right, so this is my first watch. This was technically my pick, but also Bruce's pick. And if Inception had never been made, that first scene, I don't know if I would have gathered that it was a dream. I would have thought, oh, this is just a fantasy movie, because he's in the circus and all the, much like the Aphex Twin music video with all the guys with the little faces.
Yeah.
I think it's called Come to Daddy or something like that, or Window. I think it's Come to Daddy's that music video. And you see all the creepy guys, kids and adults with the same guy's face.
Yeah,
You're like, ugh, this is creepy.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to another part of the dream, and it cuts to another part of the dream. As soon as it got a little bit into that, I'm like, oh, he's in a dream. And if I had never seen Inception, I wouldn't have probably guessed that. It's unfortunate that it has that stigma because the entire movie, I'm comparing it to Inception.
Really?
And yeah, I really was. So the whole time I'm like, oh, this is just like Jogo. Oh, he's the stand-in for this character. And then in the hallway scene, when it keeps revealing the hallway and the guy's dying and you can't see the back of you can only see the back of his head. I was like, that's like how he can't even see his kids' faces in Leo's faces every time he sees that same dream. And I was thinking, oh, is that like going to be his brother that died and he's trying to solve it through this dream, and he's trying to determine if he's actually in a dream. And the whole thing, I'm like, when it was all at the end, I was like, is this the whole movie that we've been watching a dream? And how deep does it go? And it helped. I think it helped make the movie a little bit more comprehensible, knowing the structure of a dream and then the concept of a dream within a dream. Because the movie does, to its credit, it doesn't spoon feed the audience, but I think with this kind of movie, you have to a little bit. So when you're watching Inception, they do a good job of doing that exposition dump, and it's like Tom Hardy talking with, Leo's character about
Cobb.
Yeah, about going in deeper, and if you're gonna go 3 levels deep, you have to have this type of sedation, and we got to go to the Far East to find it. And blah blah blah.
There's like limbo and stuff like that.
They really. I mean, it's not a ripoff of Paprika, but goddamn, is it really heavily inspired by it. So, like, that movie would never exist without this movie.
I completely agree. And I mean, it seems like around the table we all enjoyed ourselves watching this film.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was impressive. I think impressive and entertaining. Watching the movie through the lens of Inception, I think helped with the comprehension of the movie, but it also took away from just the inventiveness of it. And I was like, oh, I've seen this before. But they can do it in a better way in Paprika, in a sense that there's not in Inception, there's not so much like fantastical, ridiculous things that are happening. There's no frogs on parade. There's no talking dolls. There's no psycho sequences. But it's like you're in an action movie here, and then you're in a drama movie here, and you're in this. It's almost like real versions of life, and they don't do that in this. So to the credit of Nolan, he played within his own wheelhouse, and really, I fucking love Inception. I think the people that will talk about it it's like this bro-y movie that you watch if you say, oh, Inception is one of my favorite movies, and you're like pretending to be smart, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, like
I've heard people
like pseudo like intellect.
You don't get it, man.
Yeah. And it's like
I got it first watch.
It's a really well done, super entertaining sci-fi movie. I fucking love Inception. It's great.
Yeah, it's good.
I also love this for different reasons, but I don't think it's quite to the level for me of Inception.
Yeah, it's different. I guess. I mean, the two different mediums, animation and because like to some people, the animation might be more impressive or more alluring than like a live action because there is limitations, obviously. Yeah. Nolan really likes to push those limitations.
Yeah.
And I feel like Inception is probably, of his movies, that and like Interstellar are like the visual limitations when it comes to live action movies and the way he does them, like I feel like
it's really on. He's on that precipice of doing the impossible. Well, and the funny thing too is that knowing Bruce and listening to his show for so many years, he's not a Nolan fan. He's like an anti-Nolan fan.
Oh my god!
So it's funny to see, that he loves Paprika so much, and it's maybe it's because Nolan bastardized it and took so much of it to make his own that's lesser version in Bruce's mind.
I actually kind of agree with that assessment with Nolan bastardizing the storyline of Paprika, because when I was watching Paprika, like you said, Pete, like I definitely was getting a lot of like Inception vibes, and like I think like at the 30-minute mark I was like, oh my god, like this, like did Nolan just watch this movie and he's like, I'm gonna make a movie about dreams too?
Yeah. And yes, literally yes, I'm sure. Well, now the last thing I'll say before we get into the rest of the discussion is in Tim Burton's Big Fish. That is, in my opinion, is one of my favorite Burton movies. It may be my favorite.
Tearjerker, for sure.
Yeah. Well, in the movie, it's his most realistic movie. It has almost short of maybe Ed Wood,
Yeah.
But it's his most realistic movie because the movie is told in a very realistic manner. Only time you're outside of the confines of our world's rules is when he's telling a story.
Sure.
And in this, that's very similar. In Inception, again, I don't want to keep harping on it, but it goes into the dream world, and it's still the real world. And in Paprika, he goes in the dream world, and it's clearly, obviously a dream world. First shot in one of the dream sequences, she's flying on a cloud.
Yeah.
A la Dragon Ball Z, with the
do you know
wild nimbus?
Now who's
like
ripping off who?
You knew it. I was gonna ask you. Do you know what the cloud is? It's the nimbus.
Yes, the nimbus. Yeah, the flying nimbus. But yeah, again, thank you, Joseph. Who's ripping off who? So yeah, I had a really good time with it. I enjoyed myself quite a bit, and I'm glad I finally watched it.
Oh, that's great to hear. I'm glad that we're all on the same page.
Oh, it's time for class.
Class is in session!
Roll call! Bueller?
I'm gonna be late for class.
Bueller?
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm late for class.
You are mine now. You belong to me.
Did you study for the test?
No more complaining. No more Mr. Kimblett to go to the bathroom. Nothing. There is no bathroom.